Hi friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Olivia, and if you've never seen my face before, you can consider me your fragrance fairy godmother. So as promised, I have been working on some more affordable fragrance recommendation videos, and I'm super excited to announce that today we have a partner for today's video, and that is none other than Swiss Arabian. Now, Swiss Arabian is a brand that needs no introduction over on this channel because from the very beginning of making my videos, I have been raving about this brand. Because besides being affordable fragrances, these are incredibly long-lasting, and when talking about affordable fragrances, sometimes that can be a little bit of a rarity. And all of the fragrances smell super high quality. And I got to go to their flagship store in Dubai Mall and smell their entire repertoire, but right now I have a collection of 10 different fragrances to tell you about. And I have a little something for everybody. I have something fruity, I have something woody, I have something fresh. So if you're into smelling good on a budget and you want it to last a long time, you're in the right place. And I'll be leaving all of the information for Swiss Arabian in the caption box down below, so check that out. So without further ado, grab yourself a little drink, little snack, settle in, and let's get talking about these affordable Swiss Arabian fragrances. So we're going to start off today with their Shagaf line, and we're going to start off with the most popular, the most talked about fragrance on the internet, and that is Shagaf Oud. I am counting the days until California is not 90 degrees outside because I cannot wait to wear this again. But this is a fragrance that I reserve for fall and winter time because it is sweet, woody, deep, and robust. Now, this is an oud dominant fragrance, but this is not done in the traditional way of oud that can be quite challenging to a lot of people. But instead, this feels very woody, almost resinous, and very deep, almost smoky. But this is also very sweet because you have the note of praline and rose. And the combination of the two make the rose come off jammy. So imagine a very jammy, sweet rose with some deep, resinous woods. And I would say that this one leans a little bit more on the feminine side, but I know plenty of fellas that wear this one too. The rose doesn't feel antique, it doesn't feel dusty, and it doesn't overpower the composition of the fragrance. So if you want something that is quite sweet, but not necessarily gourmand, it doesn't smell edible, but has a lot of character to it, you would go with this. And what I like about this fragrance is this is the kind of fragrance that is very versatile. You can dress it up with a long red gown for date night, but you could also put on a leather jacket to make it a little bit more rock and roll. And once upon a time, I wore this when I was going to a concert with a girlfriend of mine. And do you ever have those entire day hangouts with your friends? Well, I wore this, and it lasted an incredible amount of time. Not only is it super long lasting, but it has a very nice throw, a very nice projection. So this is a compliment getter because people will smell you. And this is very popular for good reason because this is a very likable scent. But I have a particular favorite from this line that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and that would be Shagaf Oud Azraq. Now, I feel like I don't hear more women talking about this one because in contrast to Shagaf Oud, this one does come off a little bit more unisex, maybe even slightly masculine, but I'm crazy about it. Now, if Shagaf Oud is a little bit too sweet for you in comparison, this one is less sweet, although it does have some sweetness coming from honey. But this one, in comparison, comes off a lot more dark, a lot more woody, and a lot more earthy. This also has a vanilla and a cinnamon that almost give it a holiday-esque sort of feel, hence why I say this one works really well in fall and winter. But in the base, it has a patchouli, and it has a little bit of leather, only giving it a slightly deep animalic touch. But that patchouli is what really shines because it's gritty and earthy, but overall, this is warm and spicy with a little bit of sweetness, very woody and earthy and dark. This one is so good. So if Shagaf Oud was a little bit sweet, a little bit feminine for you, and you want to try something that's a little bit warmer, spicy, a little bit more gritty, and maybe slightly more masculine, Shagaf Oud Azraq. More ladies need to check this one out, I swear. Now, myself, I am partial to fall and winter fragrance scent profiles, but I know a lot of people find them a little bit too dense. So these next two are going to be good for all year round, but we're going to start off with Shagaf Oud Ahmar, which I think is going to be an amazing transitional fragrance from summer into fall. Now, although the name says that this is an oud-based fragrance, it only has a little tiny baby bit, almost indetectable. So if oud is not really your thing, but you rather like something that's fruity and musky, we're gonna check out this. This opens up very tangy, sweet, and fruity. We have notes of melon, we have some bergamot, and we have a green apple that makes it feel very juicy. And this does have some florals in it, but I find them to be quite subtle and just help to add a little bit of powderiness. So we have some iris, we also have a tonka bean that can add some powderiness with almost a slightly vanillic touch to it. But in the base, you have a white musk that is going to be very powerful and very dominant and borderline soapy. Now, as I've said in the past, the scent of this almost reminds me of a fruity shampoo type smell. So if you like those clean, fresh, fruity, musky fragrances that fare really nicely in summer, but because they have that strong base to them, you can wear them all year long. So this one is fruity and juicy, tangy, a little bit powdery, and very, very musky. Kind of one of those fragrances that when I smell it out of the cap, involuntarily it makes my mouth water. And my husband isn't the biggest fan of the note of oud, but he really, really enjoys this one and doesn't detect it at all. So if that's not your forte, check this one instead. So if spicy isn't your thing, if fruity isn't your thing, if floral is not your thing, then we're going with a powdery vanilla almond. So this is Shagaf Oud Tonka. So this is going to open up as a sweet, powdery almond. So sometimes almond can come off sweet or it can come off powdery, but this comes off both because you have the note of vanilla that's adding some of that sweetness, but you also have that note of tonka bean, as with the last one, that adds that powdery roasted sort of quality. So it starts off more sweet almond, then goes into a slightly more powdery almond, but once that subsides, you start to get some of the florals in this. There's orange blossom and rose, but to my nose, I pick up more of that orange blossom. So it gives it this robust, round, white floral feel that's sweetened with a powdery almond and vanilla. Now this one is super long lasting as well, but I find this one to be better for those who like a slight bit more intimate scent bubble. They don't want a fragrance that is shouting, because by nature, the notes of this fragrance are a little bit softer than the other ones. I find this to be a very cozy fragrance. I also find this to have a slight smell of root beer. This feels like a cashmere sweater or like a warm bubble bath. It doesn't smell soapy by any means, but it has that nice, cozy, comforting sort of quality. And one time I was wearing this and a girlfriend of mine was like, "Ooh, that one smells like lipstick." So I think she was picking up on that sweet powdery scent that old school lipsticks used to have. Oh, I miss that scent so much. Now they just make it smell like strawberry or vanilla. How boring. So if you like sweet powdery vanilla, we're going with Shagaf Oud Tonka. If you like warm, spicy, earthy, androgynous, we're going with Shagaf Oud Azraq. If you want to smell sweet yet like a femme fatale, we're going with Shagaf Oud. And if you want to smell fruity, musky, and fresh, we're going with Shagaf Oud Ahmar. And next, we have 3 from this collection. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but they all have these very intricate bottles. So we're going to start off with Oud 07. Now, when you look at the notes of Oud 07, you are going to see that there are quite some similarities to Shagaf Oud, but on the skin, they do read quite differently. They're definitely cousins, but I find Shagaf Oud to be quite a bit sweeter, whereas this one is going to be a little less sweet and a little bit more spicy. So let's get into the details. So this is also a rose oud praline scent, but I find this one to have quite a bit more of that rose. It's going to come off a little bit more floral, and this one has more prominent saffron. So you are getting something that's a little bit more spicy and a little bit more leathery, but not overpowering. And then on the dry down of this is going to go into the musky category. So it has a more prominent rose, a more prominent saffron, and an added touch of musk. So if you found Shagaf Oud to be a little bit too sweet for your liking and you wanted something with a little bit more rose and a little bit more spiciness, I think you would like Oud 07. And it's interesting because although these are similar, I do tend to reserve this one for fall and winter time Whereas this one, I can get away with in spring and summer, just maybe in the evening time. It's still more of a nighttime scent for me, but I find this one to be a little bit more of a fresher version than this. They're definitely cousins. Now, if you want something that has a prominent rose, but you do not want oud at all, let's talk about Rose 01. This is going to be a musky, juicy, feminine, fresh rose. You get some tart fruitiness in the beginning coming from a lychee that's offset with a little bit of spiciness coming from pink pepper. And out of all of the fragrances I've talked about today, this one is going to be the most prominent rose, but it doesn't go too antique or heavy, because although it's a Bulgarian rose, you have the note of peony, which I always think of peony as diet rose, or rose's baby sister, that when in combination helps to uplift it and make sure it doesn't go too old school. You know what I mean? And in the base, you have a vanilla and a very prominent musk. So this is a fragrance that I would like to refer to as a pretty girl scent. You know those girls that always have their hair and makeup done, they can pull off the slick back bun, they have their nails clean and short? This is what it's giving. It's delicate, it's fresh, it's feminine, yet despite that, still has a lot of character and a lot of presence. This is still going to be very long lasting and have a good projection, but it's going to have a little bit more of a gentle edge to it. And speaking of gentle, is the last one I have in this collection, and it's called Musk 07, and another one that I find super underrated. Oh, this is an ethereal scent. So this does start off with some fruitiness, but it's a fruitiness that's not going to be super over the top and in your face. I wouldn't consider it a fruit-forward fragrance, but it does have some pomegranate and blackcurrant that just serve to add a sweet sparkle in the beginning. But instead of the rose being super prominent in this, my nose picks up more on Lily of the Valley. And with the Lily of the Valley in combination with the musk, this comes off sweet, powdery, soft, and very clean. This is delicate and very fresh, soft and powdery, and will make you feel like you got out of a very luxurious bubble bath and you put on an all-white linen outfit. It's crisp and clean. I don't hear enough people talking about this, but if you have the clean girl aesthetic and you don't want something that's super duper rosy or super fruity, this is a musky dream. Musk is a note that is a universal yes for my husband, and when I had him smell this, the little smile that crept on his face, I just knew. I had him smell it and he goes, I'm like, you can't have it. I only have one bottle. You can't have it. Lightly sweet, softly floral, very powdery, very musky, and just clean and feminine. Effortlessly chic. So next up is Casablanca, and this is actually a fragrance that I'm reintroducing into my collection because I had it before and something about it did not agree with me. But a couple months ago, I was hanging out with a girlfriend of mine and she smelled so good and I kept complimenting her, and finally I was like, what are you wearing, by the way? She's like, oh, I'm wearing Casablanca. I was like, what the heck? I had that before and that did not smell the same on me. So the whole night I just kept smelling her. I went home, I thought about it, and then I needed it. I needed it in my collection. So this one is going to go slightly more towards the gourmand category because this is a caramel apple scent. But I say that with a tone because it's not thick or sticky or over edible smelling, because it has some iris that adds a little bit of a floral powdery touch, as well as some patchouli and woods in the base that do give it a little bit of depth, grounded earthiness, making it feel more perfumey and less edible. I enjoy that the caramel in this is a little bit more sheer, so you are getting something sweet, but the apple in this is a green apple, so it's more of a tart juicy with a light bit of caramel, not like a whole apple that's been dunked in sticky, ooey gooey mess. You know what I mean? Which is nice because this is a gourmand-ish fragrance that you can wear all year round. Some gourmand fragrances can be quite heavy and I only wear them in fall winter time, but the juiciness, the muskiness, and the slight earthiness of this make it more of an all year round fragrance for me. I still remain by the fact that this fragrance changes. So when you first spray it out, it does come off a little bit strong, but then once it melts into the skin, it does change a lot. And I really noticed that when my friend was wearing it. Obviously I wasn't there when she first applied it, but the way that it warmed up on the skin, it smelled sweet but not overpowering. It had this really lovely muskiness to it. And this will also be good for those of you who want something that's not massively projecting. You need to be in a little bit more close proximity with people. You don't want to offend anybody, but you do want to smell good. You want some compliments, but you don't want to choke anybody. This one would be a good option. So if you like fruity and sweet, but you don't want something super dense, try Casablanca. And the last two are going to be kind of their special edition fragrances, and I got these when I was in Dubai. So naturally, we have to talk about Opulence of Dubai first. If you guys follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you probably saw the review in which I was going nuts over this fragrance, and when I show you the notes, you will understand why. This fragrance is almost like trying to describe a dream to somebody because it's very, very complex. But if I were to break it down simply, I would say this is warm and spicy, aromatic, and rich and woody. Definitely unisex. In the beginning, you are going to get a fruity, spicy tanginess coming from some citrus and ginger. And that spiciness is really exaggerated with cardamom and pink pepper, giving it a lot of aromatic sort of qualities. And there is the note of coffee and chocolate in this, but they do not come off overly sweet and help to give an earthy, almost bitter roastedness to the scent. But then in the base is where this becomes very earthy and very dry. So you have incense, you have some resins, and you have a lot of woodiness. So it's warm and spicy, earthy, dark and roasted. And opulence is really a great way to describe it because this really smells royal. Something that I would wear to an event if I was trying to show off. And although I thought the notes were going to be a little bit contradictory, I layered Casablanca with Opulence of Dubai, and it actually smelled really good together. Because Casablanca added just a little bit of fruity, gourmand sweetness to the rich, warm, woody earthiness of Opulence of Dubai. Worked famously together. And this last one, a lot of people don't realize is from the house of Swiss Arabian because it's almost under an umbrella name called Zawalif, and the scent is called Scent of Seduction. Now this is a super interesting fragrance because in the beginning you have raspberry, you have apricot, you have cotton candy, so you're getting something fruity, juicy, and candied sweet. But in the base, you are getting a leather, you are getting a patchouli, you're getting a frankincense, so you are getting something deep and very contradictory to the opening notes. And the patchouli in this almost comes off smoky. So the way I would describe this is, when you were younger, if you wore all of the cute, fruity, sweet, candied scents from Bath & Body Works, but as you've gotten older, they're too juvenile for you, but you want something that kind of reminds you of that, but has an edge to it, this. It's a very daring, seductive take on a fruit chuli fragrance. So although it has the fruitiness, it has the cotton candy, this dries down beastly. It has a smokiness, a spiciness, an earthy resinous quality that seductive is the perfect name for it. So that's all I've got for my Swiss Arabian collection as of right now. But I could be missing some. So if you guys have some favorites and I missed it, make sure you comment down below so that way I can pick it up and we can talk about it. Thank you once again to our partner for today's video, Swiss Arabian, for always making fragrances that are beastly at a good price. If you need more information about them, I'll leave it down here. So before I go, what have you guys been crazy about lately? What have you been wearing on repeat? Any layering suggestions? Leave me a little comment. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And until next Saturday, 10 a.m. PST, you know what to do. Take care of yourselves, my friends.